I'm the only one who can address him as you, the rest don't. I come here not to give a story, but to testify. And the centrality of it all is about giving Jesus glory. Forgiveness and reconciliation. But the theme is said the power of forgiveness and reconciliation. And there would be no better candidate to testify today other than yours faithfully, Chris Rwakasisi. Reconciliation is to restore or bring back to friendship or to bring back into agreement. And this is an infrastructure of forgiveness. Forgiving without reconciliation is absolutely pointless. But let me hasten to say this. Forgiveness is not a favor. That you favor someone to forgive him. No, not at all. It's not a favor. As we have heard from the readings, Bible is an obligation. Bible is a command. Rather, forgiveness is a command. Forgiveness is the center of Christianity. Someone said that not forgiving is like drinking a poison, drinking poison, hoping and expecting that the enemy you hate will die. It is a terrible thing not to forgive. My testimony starts with the question is, who is this Rwakasisi? And who was he? Rwakasisi, for good or for bad, was a household name. I was hated as much as I was loved. And how did I come to this? It all started after elections of 1980. President Milton Obote had gone around with me throughout Uganda telling each and everyone who wanted to listen that I was to be his prime minister. Yeah. But then after elections, he sent a Tanzania People's Defense Force helicopter to collect me from my home, from Kabohe. And I came here, State House, and found him in the office. He told me, said, I had promised you to be Prime Minister, but now Paul Mwanga is campaigning for his friend Otemari Madi. So what do I do? I said, no, you do whatever you want. So he pulled out the list of the ministries that he had lined up and asked me to pick up one which I wanted. I said, no, I was not going to do that. He said, well, I want you to be in my office, but if I say that you are minister without portfolio, Baganda would say, Minister Taina Murimu. And if I say you are minister for presidency, people will think you are there to run my errands. And yet if I say you are Minister of State, people will think you are a junior minister. So what do? I said, do anything you want, Your Excellency. And he coined the ministry, State Minister, Office of the President, not Minister of State, Office of the President, but State Minister, Office of the President, which brought me in the center of everything and literally made me his assistant. My office was opposite his. Every minute, the secretary would be coming. Honorable Minister, His Excellency wants you. Honorable Minister, now, before I sit down, His Excellency has come in my office. Your Excellency, Honorable, everybody honorable, secretary is honorable, everyone honorable, my sisters honorable. I forgot that my name was Rwakasisi. I thought I was honorable. And oh yes, I heard it, you mentioned it. My convoy was almost like the president's. You know, these days when I see these people who move with convoys, you know, pushing me from the road, well, you know, there is a story in Nyankole. There is this, the banana plantation. It has got leaves, you know, but there is this leaf, the first one, which is all complete, not torn. So when the wind was blowing, those who know the language of the leaves, they had it saying, but then there was this akashansha, you know, the dry one which was just down. You know. Oh yes, it was that. And in that one, I grew big and big and big and bigger. But of all things, I forgot God. You know, at times, my constituents will come and say, Honorable Minister, can we go to church? I say, well, when you go to church, you pray for the president and his cabinet, and I'm one of them. So you go and pray. I'm going for my farm. Finish, end of the story. But let me tell you, time came. Oh yes, time came. When I saw all these glories and powers, you know, all just breaking down like a house of cards. Oh yeah. A man who was saluted by generals, and now I was ordered by the privates. Ewewe, kachini. I would go down. Yeah. I'd go down. Chuchuma chini. And there you go. Let me tell you, these people were in the bush, and I faithfully hunted them down. I can testify that there isn't a single minister, including ministers of defense or of internal affairs, who ever went to Luweero Triangle. None. Not even an army commander. But Rwakasisi. You'll get there, Museveni has been here. You know, at one time, we had a colonel who was a brigade commander in that place. Now, he came to give report to the president. And, of course, as usual, I was there. So he said, yesterday, we had contact with Museveni. He was dressed in a kanzu, and he was the one commanding the army. So, but the boys tried to shoot, they tried to shoot, but he was just doing like this, getting all the bullets, putting them in the pocket. Putting them in the, and I looked at the colonel. I mean, so the president just looked at him, and then from there he stood up and said, Naomba kuendelea. The president said, you go ahead. He went out. I told the president, I said, if I was the president, this man would leave this room private. Sometimes Museveni would be a pussycat, sometimes he would be a rat, at times he would be everything. But anyway, the short of it is that, yes, I looked for them. Even when they crossed to the west to Wenzori, I think I was late about 10 minutes when they crossed at Kasunga Nyanja. I had already arrived there. But when I reached Rubona, I put on field glasses and just looked at the shoulders of the mountain, and I saw them. They had, they were cooking and all that. Fine. I went to Fort Potro. I had rested already. From there, I took Chenjojo Road. The brigade commander I had, he dared to come back through Rwakasisi. And did he survive? He didn't. The story is very long. I've told you that he was arrested with all honors and glories running down. But it's not NRM which arrested me. I was arrested by our own army. But of course, when NRM came and found me in the prison, I was just a prize for them. I remember there was a battalion 102 around Luzira, and the boys would sing throughout all the night. Rwakasisi amba alijaribu akashindwa wo koruzira amba. Hey, oh yeah, they sang. I mean, they sang through the night. At the end of it all, Rwakasisi was taken to court and charged with kidnap. I first was charged by that I either killed a woman called Nachejo in Kampala, but then that could not hold. Then they came up with the kidnap. Now, when we were in the court, they brought witnesses, of course, which I had never seen. But there was this famous one, Kopolo Katabazi. I remember him. He came and he told the judge, Onajua afande, uyo afande yangu alituma mimi tukwenda Mbarara leta gorila yangu na mimi nikapiga saluti nikasema ndio afande. And I saw the judge, nodding with his wig, said, yes, this is a very honest witness. I said, honestly. Rwakasisi talked to a corporal of all soldiers that sent a corporal. But the judge said, yes, this is a truthful witness. Cutting the long story short, time came after 6 months of trial, and the judge had to give his judgment. So the judgment started at 10 o'clock in the morning, and he read through his judgment until 8:30 in the night. At 8:30, he removed his white wig and put on a black hood. He knocked the table, said, I'm going to pronounce a death sentence. The court stood up. And the prayer, I said, I did not hear much of it, but I caught the tail end when they said, may his soul rest in peace. And that was the end. I was taken to Luzira. Now, from the Boma to condemn section on the death roll. And I was a very, very bitter man. Very bitter. I hated two beings. One was God. I said, if you are God of mercy, if you are God of justice, how did you allow such a thing to obtain when you know that you are innocent? He never answered me. Another person I hated was Museveni. That one I even had a spare hatred. We had known each other in our youth. When he came from Dar es Salaam, he was brought in my office. You know, I was his boss. So don't you worry. And we worked together. I loved him very much because he was very vibrant, fresh from university, full of theories. I think he had even gone through Karl Marx's Das Kapital. And we teamed up very well. But
of Chris. Of course, I have not had time to discuss with Chris all the details. When I was saying that Chris killed my 2 children, it's true that UPC killed our 2 children. It is true. UPC, Chris's group. Chris's former group. It is true they killed they killed many people, including our 2 children, Kamu and Namara. They were not directly from Mama and myself, but they were of our relatives. So it's true that that group there killed a boy called Kamu. There were school children here in Kampala, staying in Nakurebe. They were just killed, 2 of them. One was called Kamu, another one was called Namara. They were killed. So it was true. It was. But when it came to the case of Chris, and this is where I would also want to share testimony. He left out a step in his message which you should put in. And this was, when you are condemned to go where he was, isolation, waiting to be hanged, there is another step which he did not mention. There is a committee called the Prerogative of Mercy Committee. This is a committee of some prominent lawyers who studied the case again and advised the president. In the case of Chris, I think if I remember correctly, for them they had advised that I should hang him. Chibita, do you remember that? Come and tell us, Chibita, Judge. Because Chibita was my legal secretary. What had the Committee of Mercy advised?
Your Excellency, the committee advised that we needed to talk to the families of the victims. And we went to Mbarara and met...
Oh, that's what they advised?
Yeah, that we talk to the families and see what they say. So we went and talked to 3 families. And they said whatever His Excellency decides, but as far as for us we are concerned, we would let the law take its course. And that's what we came and advised Your Excellency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, when but I remember, when I got those documents, I don't remember which type, regarding Chris. There was still the old state house here, a small state house here, and I had the small office on the other side. I went there and prayed. And I said, this case of Chris, is it really true that he killed these people? and should be hanged, or there could be a mistake. Now somehow a voice, I don't know what you call it. Some, my Barokle people call it a voice, but it was like a feeling inside me. But I think that's what you call a voice. Told me that it's not correct. Don't sign that instrument, whatever it was, whether it was the death sentence or whatever. So don't sign it. That one I remember very well. In that small office, the old office of the president. So that's when now we had to click the, because you see for me, I think blending the Christianity and the modern law of punitive, which is also similar to the NRA, which is an eye for an eye, but blending it with the tradition. Because according to our traditions, there must be full accountability. But accountability is not always punitive. It can be reconstructive. In our culture, there are two mistakes. There is shedding of blood, which attracts what we call enzugu. Enzugu is vendetta. According to our tribal laws, if you kill my brother, I am duty bound. There is now enzugu between my clan and your clan. And I am duty bound to revenge. Okora. But the other side can come and negotiate for reconciliation. That is, they call it Okaraba. We can come and we negotiate and we say, instead of revenge, they pay maybe some, they call it Okaraba, bring cows and so on and compensate. And then they perform ceremonies and the matter is finished. That is now a big offense like bloodshed. If it is a small offense, okchumura, like insult, like what Bishop Masinde was saying, our solution is, that is called Okchumra. It is not Enzugu, but it is Okchumra. And the answer for that is not Okarawa, but Okhonga. Okhonga is to pay to compensate for a mistake other than murder, smaller than murder. So therefore, what I did, because to release Chris without the families of the other children, the other ones who died, there were the two children, our own children, and then there were another group of children from the neighborhood there who had been killed by the group, the UPC. We had now to call these families in Rwakasisi. They didn't agree. I don't think they agreed. They agreed, but they said, as Chibita said, if I decide, they would accept. But for them, they wanted the law of Moses. So that's how what I see there. I remember going to that office and praying. How do I handle the issue of Chris? Now, I didn't even know, because later on when I met him, he told me his version, which he told you here, that it was false evidence. Yes, the UPC was killing people, but not necessarily Chris Rwakasisi as a person. But you can see that in this case, they brought a corporal who reasonably could not, that it was like staged witnesses, not the truth. So, but I think in all this, me, what I have seen in the last 65 years, when I have been involved for most of the time very actively since 1971, what you should avoid is avoid evil, whatever you are doing. Don't plan evil, don't do evil. And like my young people, the members of parliament, the anger, very angry, because these people cheated us here. Tango Doi cheated me here. This one there. Yes, because between us and the UPC group, we were feeling a lot of unfairness because we had been fighting Amin for 8 years. And then when we come here, UPC wants to exclude us and do it behind the Tanzanians. They thought that with the Tanzanians here would do nothing. Of course, it was a miscalculation. And that's why, so we were very angry with them. Very angry with Moshi. Moshi was a conference where we met and we were cheated. We were given, I had 9,000 fighters in Barara, but we were given only two seats out of, because the groups were out of 56 seats, they gave us 2. For the NRC, the National, for the NCC, National Consultative Council, I didn't even put forward my name. I put because I had only 2 slots, I put forward the name of Elia Kategaya and Christopher, Father Okoth, Christopher Okoth. So we had grievances in Moshi, grievances in, but also UPC had their own grievances because Obote had also been excluded, Obote as a person. So this unfairness is but in spite of all those unfairnesses, don't do any evil. You just keep doing the right thing, because I can see that God really has been on our side, because I don't know why, but I partly think it could be because of that, because we avoid evil. Whether we are angry, whether we are what, we had the power to assassinate people, to kill people, but we never used it. Never used it. Assassinate people, do this, poison. No, we rejected that. Our fight was open fight. And avoiding all dirty ways of fighting. But what I see in the world, some of the people think that all methods are permissible as long as you are fighting. That's not correct. So the witness of Honorable Chris Rwakasisi is a very good witness, because God has kept him alive, has kept me alive, so that we give you these stories. Because if I was here, if I was not here, maybe you will not get this story. And if you was not here, you will not get this story, which we have got today. So therefore, in summary, what, especially you, the politicians, even if they cheat you, if you are doing right things, God will come to your aid at the right time. and you don't have to be bitter. And, because even after the elections, we could have negotiated with the UPC. That's why I met Mwanga in Kororo with Peter Otai, and again I met him here. He had a house here somewhere near Victoria Hotel. He had a house somewhere there. I met him there to this time, and I told him that if you want to avoid trouble, we should talk seriously. But they were not interested. So please, when you are, what Bishop Masindi is telling you, whatever is happening, look for the good things, if they are there, about your country, and talk about those also. Even if you are rejecting some things, but there must be some good things that you can talk about. And if, like in the UPC had agreed that time, we would have talked, we would have found a solution, but they didn't agree. We had also talked with the DP, but the DP also had their own plan to use religion to do what. So this is a very powerful, this is a very powerful testimony from the Chris Rwakasisi, and a very strong message from Bishop Masinde. I'm very happy that we are all here to listen to the two.